Stop trying to be liked, because that's the trap that's killing you slowly. Want real impact? Listen to this. People don't respect you. They use you. And the worst part is that you yourself handed them the keys to do it. Every fake smile, every yes said in fear, every time you swallowed your rage to avoid discomfort was a silent surrender. You thought you were earning affection, but all you really did was dig your own social grave. The love you chase so much isn't love. It's a disguise, an invisible contract that demands you always pay more. Today you give time, tomorrow you give your dignity, the next day you hand over your identity. And what do you get in return? A fragile affection that breaks with a rumor, with a mistake, with one word out of place. That thing you call approval is really a rope around your neck. And every day you let someone else tighten it a little more. Stay in this video, and I promise you something. You'll learn to break that rope. You'll discover why respect is more feared than love, why survivors don't seek sympathy but power. And the most unsettling part, you'll look back and realize how many times you thought you were being noble, when in reality you were signing your sentence of weakness. Get ready, because what you're about to hear isn't comfortable, but it's the only thing that can give you back the strength you've lost. The biggest mistake you make isn't seeking affection. It's believing that affection protects you. Let me reveal what no one dares to say. Sympathy isn't a shield. It's a sweet poison that numbs you until you're useless. And the dangerous part isn't that others know it. The dangerous part is that you don't notice it. Every time you accept the idea that being liked is enough, you turn into an unarmed soldier in the middle of a battlefield. Have you ever thought about how manipulation works? It doesn't start with shouts or threats. It starts with praise. First, they give you what you crave most: acceptance, smiles, a place in the group. They hand it to you like a caress, but behind it hides the trap. Because whoever gives you approval can take it away whenever they want. And in that instant, you become dependent. They pull the rope, and you obey without realizing it. That's what turns kindness into slavery. Respect, on the other hand, isn't negotiable. It doesn't come from giving your time or energy to anyone. It's born from your limits, from your ability to say no, even when everyone expects a yes. And here's the brutal truth. Whoever sets limits is hated at first, but feared later. And fear, dark as it sounds, sustains much more than fleeting affection. Look around you. Those who always please are exhausted, invisible, irrelevant. They're remembered only when needed and forgotten as soon as they're no longer useful. In contrast, those who don't let themselves be bought, those who know how to measure their generosity, project something different. They project power. And in a hostile world, power is survival. Don't confuse this with coldness. It's not about shutting down your humanity, but about transforming it into strategy. The mistake is giving it away like water, instead of administering it like a rare and costly wine. Whoever gives too much becomes an open faucet everyone drains. Whoever controls it, instead, turns every gesture into something valuable. And what's valuable is never despised. Stay, because what you're about to discover goes far beyond stopping the search for affection. It's about learning to use your kindness as a calculated weapon, not as a chain. Here begins the most uncomfortable part. How to turn your need to please into your greatest strategic strength. Most people don't understand this, but poorly managed kindness turns into debt. Every favor you do without strategy becomes an unpaid bill that others never acknowledge, but always expect you to keep paying. And the irony is, the more you give, the less value what you offer has. Excess destroys prestige. A rare coin sparks desire. An abundant coin ends up on the ground, trampled. That's how your time, your attention, your giving works too. What almost no one dares to admit is that human psychology doesn't respect what is abundant. It respects what is scarce. That's why those who administer their gestures with precision seem greater, more enigmatic, more powerful. Scarcity creates mystery, and mystery breeds respect. While you shout to be seen, others remain silent, and their silence weighs more than your desperate screams. And here comes the most disturbing point. The need for approval not only exhausts you, it also makes you predictable. The one who needs to be liked always acts the same, gives in, smiles, avoids conflict, tries to please. Do you know what it means to be predictable in a world where everyone is competing to survive? It means being weak. The player who moves predictably always loses. Those who truly dominate know how to disguise their intentions, know when to show kindness and when to withdraw it. That cold calculation doesn't make them monsters, it makes them strategists. If you think about it, all the great leaders in history had a pattern. They didn't seek sympathy, they sought control. They could smile softly and, in the next second, impose an unbreakable decision. That duality is what kept others on edge, never knowing what to expect, forcing them to respect. Respect is born in that space of uncertainty, where others understand they could lose everything if they underestimate you. That's why, if you stay in this video, I'll show you how to reprogram the way you relate. Because it's not about abandoning your kindness, but about learning to use it like a card you keep up your sleeve, not like a wild card you give away at the start of every game. Power isn't in always smiling, it's in choosing when to. Respect doesn't come from abundance, it comes from calculated scarcity. And now listen carefully, because here comes the most uncomfortable part. Learning not to give when everyone expects you to is the true art. That void, that denial, is what marks your power. Whoever dares to withdraw their energy becomes indispensable. Whoever doesn't know how to withdraw it ends up invisible. The real problem is that you confused kindness with value. You were taught that being kind was enough to open doors, when in reality what opens doors is the perception that not everyone can access you. And here's where the perverse game begins. The more accessible you are, the less you're respected. Think about it. Do you value what's always within reach? You use it, you consume it, and then you forget it. Human nature craves what it can't have and despises what's given away without effort. That's why the obsession with being liked becomes your greatest curse. Because in your constant search to please, you end up showing all your cards too soon, and the one who shows their cards is left without strategy. Psychology is clear. When someone detects your need for approval, they automatically know they can manipulate you. They don't have to impose anything. They just have to threaten to withdraw their sympathy. And then you fall to your knees. You bend just to avoid losing that fragile light that was never yours. Look around. The people who inspire true respect aren't the ones who say yes to everything. They're the ones who say no without trembling, who create discomfort with their silences, who don't need to explain every move. And the unsettling part is that even if many dislike them, no one dares to ignore them. Because respect isn't about being liked, it's about the possibility that your absence weighs more than your presence. Now stop for a second and think about yourself. How many times have people come to you just because they know you can't say no? How many times have you felt that even though you gave more than anyone, you were valued less? That's the price of wanting to be liked. You become an inexhaustible resource, a well everyone draws from without ever thanking. But the worst part isn't the use, it's the forgetting. When someone gets used to your giving, they stop seeing it as a gesture and start seeing it as an obligation. And what was nobility turns into contempt. And here's what's truly disturbing. The more you need to be liked, the weaker your identity becomes. You start molding yourself to what others expect, erasing your essence bit by bit. Today you change to please one, tomorrow to please another, and in the end, you become a distorted reflection of hundreds of foreign wills. Do you know what psychology calls that? Dissolution of the self. And a dissolved identity is fertile ground for manipulation. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying you should become a cold monster. The key isn't to kill your kindness, but to place it under your control. A weapon you use with intention, not a leak anyone can exploit. The difference between a strategist and a naive person lies in the management of their humanity. The naive gives everything at the start and ends up empty. The strategist gives just enough at the precise moment, and with that multiplies their value. Let me give you a clear image. Imagine that every act of kindness, every minute of your time, every kind word is a gold coin. If you throw those coins into the air for anyone to grab, you'll end up poor and no one will respect you. But if you give them only when necessary, and only to those who truly deserve it, your value will grow. That's how the psychology of power works. What's scarce generates respect. What's abundant fades. And the most unsettling thing is that you already sensed this. You feel it every time you were used, every time you were forgotten after giving everything. The wound of not being valued doesn't come from giving too little, but from giving too much. But society wants you confused, because a human being who needs to be liked is a human being who allows himself to be ruled. It's easier to manipulate someone who fears rejection than someone who can withstand isolation. Think about this. History remembers those who knew how to impose limits, not those who gave without measure. No one writes about the one who always said yes. No one builds statues for those who never caused discomfort. Legacy belongs to those who learned to be firm, who understood that sympathy evaporates, but respect stays etched like burning iron. That's why, if you're still here, it's because you already suspect it. You've been wasting energy in the wrong direction for far too long. And this video is the sign you needed. I'm not talking about coldness, I'm talking about strategy. I'm not talking about cruelty, I'm talking about survival. Because in this world, if you don't impose limits, someone else will decide for you where you begin and where you end. And when that happens, you'll have lost the only battle that really matters, the battle for your own identity. So stay, because now we're going even deeper. I'm going to show you how to turn that need for approval into a silent weapon, how to use mystery as a tool, how to make your presence stop being a gesture of seeking and become an inevitable magnet. What comes next isn't comfortable, but it's the key that will allow you to leave behind the weakness of wanting to be liked and build the power of being respected. And now we've arrived at the most uncomfortable point of all. The moment you have to decide whether you'll go on being a slave to affection, or whether for the first time in your life, you'll claim the respect you deserve. Because here's the truth no one tells you. Life isn't about collecting smiles, it's about leaving marks no one dares to erase. Respect isn't begged for, it's built with every limit you set, with every no you hold in the middle of the storm, with every calculated gesture that makes clear your value doesn't depend on others' approval. Step most people never dare to, accepting that sympathy is poison disguised as virtue. Because now you understand that being liked is pleasant, yes, but being respected is what really keeps you standing when everything else falls apart. Love vanishes with the wind. Respect remains like a cold rock against time. I want you to do something with me right now. Leave a comment with a phrase that sums it all up, so it stays carved into your memory and into everyone else's. Write, I prefer respect over fleeting love. And in doing so, you'll have sealed a pact with yourself, a public reminder that you stopped chasing what is fragile to embrace what is solid. If this message has stirred you, subscribe, because what comes next will be even more brutal, deeper, and more transformative. And hit the bell, because here you won't find superficial advice. You'll find psychological weapons few dare to teach. And I'll say goodbye with a challenge, not a farewell. The next time someone tries to buy you with sympathy, remember this. You don't need their affection to survive. You need your own respect to dominate. Now close your eyes for a moment, listen to the silence, and ask yourself, what weighs more? Being liked by everyone or being respected by yourself? That answer, when you feel it in your skin, will be the beginning of your true freedom. See you in the next video, if you still have the courage to keep opening your eyes.